Hello all, a little test drive Lamborghini Urus need to identify some faults, but that's what this is all about. Well, look what happens next. Well, let's try now to bring the errors for this will have to perhaps some time to drive. Not the most pleasant story, but there are no options. This is the only way to get some information. Now our task is to drive around as much as possible to understand what is going on with the car. I hope it won't take too long, because it's not very interesting, to be honest. Well, I won't show the whole process, of course, because it's probably very dreary. But as soon as I find something, I will definitely show you. It is interesting that Urus in Moscow, somehow people do not pay attention to it at all, despite the fact that after all the first one is a Lamborghini, and the second one is not a cheap Lamborghini, but somehow so. Maybe it also depends on the color, of course. Here we have such a very camouflage color. If there was some yellow or some purple, it would probably be different. But this way, in fact, you drive very calmly. And it's nice, by the way, because when you drive something so mysterious, people are always taking pictures. And they don't hesitate to ask you anything. But it's a bit stressful. 1, 2, 3. Maybe there's some fun in it. But when it goes on for days, it's not very interesting. Very nice brakes here. I'm very pleased with that. Because they work, they are carbon ceramic, of course, but they work like this, unlike those Ferrari cars, which have carbon ceramic. But if you do not race on it, it turns out that it is very ineffective, but here we have it just as it should. It stops without any problems at all. Despite the fact that this is still a car, well, it is not the most straightforward sport. There's a Caprista in here too. We're going to try and listen to it now, if we can, again. Well, I don't think we'll get a chance to listen to it, but the sound is great too. Very, very nice. I still don't understand why the cigarette lighter has been removed here. I mean, it is really uncomfortable. It is really uncomfortable. At first, when I saw all this, I thought, well, on the move maybe it will be somehow different. Everything is clear. In the parking position, it's one thing. But on the move, it's different. But I can tell you that even on the move this story, it's somehow, well, it looks a bit uncomfortable. Especially the car is fast. You know you're driving at some speed and you need to do something. Well, you see, I think they've miscalculated a bit. The steering is very, very good, which should be otherwise. What's the point of having a car like this then? But my commission doesn't work out. I'll keep driving around, but I don't think I'll find anything interesting yet. There's probably nothing to show, because there's just driving around the city. Everything's so slow, there's nowhere to go. Well, with this car, the whole interest, as far as I can see, is to drive actively. That is why, probably, a little later we will pass to examination of the interior, exactly in natural light, because there's really a lot to see here. Look at the color. I mean, it is, I think, a worthwhile endeavor. Anyway, I'll get back to you a little bit later. Now, we have a small insert from the car service, then we will return to the inspection of our salon. Well, and in general, all external data of this beautiful car. Now we have done a maintenance on it. By the way, I would like to add that the maintenance on this car is quite inexpensive, in the neighborhood of 80,000 rubles on all original ingredients. I believe that this is a very good price, because take any now some simply banal Mercedes Eshka. And, of course, if you go to the offices, I think about the same money you will give for such a rather ordinary car. We have a whole Lamborghini here, so I think it's a very, very passable price tag. In this respect, of course, the kinship with WAG, it warms the soul so pleasantly. But I think that's where the pleasantness ends, because everything else, its association with the WAG, it's probably not very pleasant to the Lamborghini owner. Regarding the situation with which I was riding, I will tell you so. No errors were found, but in the end decided to act wisely, maturely, made to, and the car will leave us for now. In general, we will observe, and as soon as there are problems, immediately agreed with the owner that immediately he will signal and will drive up. But we really need errors. There are no errors, that's the problem. Still, you see, modern cars, they are completely dependent on diagnostics, so it's not very good. But still, this VAG 4-litre engine, it's not bad. As you'll remember, once upon a time, there were problems with the phase shifters on the Bentley. But it was a short blink, a couple of years, then the factory eliminated this nuance and everything became quite good. So, in principle, there are no questions to this motor. Of course, it is upsetting that more at VAG and at Bentley, more precisely at VAG, and did not have the last years, but at Bentley, double 12 motor will not be more. And I understand that this 4-litre, it will be the biggest, yes, in the whole group. It's also a bit frustrating, but personally it warms my soul that I have a Bentley with 12 cylinders, so I guess I'm good. In the next few days, we are promised another gift in quotes from the government. They will add more scrappage. But, in general, again, it will all be included in the price of these imported cars. But this is not our topic. Let's return to our beautiful Urus. Color. The color is actually very non-standard. It is non-standard first of all because this color is really so unusual for Lamborghini. What we've got here is silver, matte silver. Not so often you see, of course, when you look at such colors immediately with horror. I remember my friend's Glintwagen of a similar color. So there it was necessary to paint the door, but there was also such a dance with tambourines in terms of matching paint. But this is an unpleasant moment in such colors. As you can see, here stands Caprista, but still in the light of day, this body color looks quite interesting and not quite usual. And there's also an interesting story about the brake calipers. Look at them. They're that classic Lamborghini color. And here, we have the opposite. Yeah, I mean, usually a quiet interior and a Lamborghini body in some wild color. Yeah, there's a problem with the pad sensor. I'll have to look at this wire here, see what's wrong with it. So, back to you. Usually the interior is calm, the body is restless. This is exactly the opposite. The body is calm, this color scheme, but the interior, I'll show you what's inside. I've only seen similar ones. Probably, well, just the kind of wildness I've seen on. We've got a Bentayga coming in, which is exactly the same color. Not the same color, but bright green. It's some kind of a limited edition, and the interior is also bright green. It's eye-watering. Of course, it is more usual for Lamborghini than for Bentley, but nevertheless, you see, there are also Bentley cars. Especially now, Bentley started to work with young clientele, with young people, and they do all sorts of extreme things. I guess that's a plus too, because it's not to be completely boring. Anyway, about this Urus. I'll tell you this color works for me. I think it's probably a color for a more established audience. Those who want such a car, but do not want to be some bright yellow. This is quite a passing story. But here's what I promised you. Look at this beautiful interior. In theory, this is the color that should probably be on the body, but it's on the interior. Inside, you can see these aluminum inserts. It looks good too. And then, of course, The quality of the interior. The quality of the interior is excellent because VAG has got their hand in it. In this case, VAG's pour is very, very high quality, which is very good. Again, an interesting moment, the rear view camera. It's cool here. Why do I often pick on them? Well, because the Bentley has a rear view camera. You'd think they'd be the same. But for some reason, the Bentley, the rear view camera, has a poorer resolution. And that's not good. Maybe it's just different generations of camera. And even if it's the same year of the car, maybe it's just an older Bentley that's got these gauges. That's not good. I'll say it again. There's an interesting story here, by the way. These are split rear seats. Also, basically, it's cool, although it's not clear what they're doing in a Lamborghini. Yes, split seats. It's not a Range Rover. Although, on the other hand, it's kind of like that. Everyone here is on sport, so a solid rear sofa probably can be not good here, in general, and the rear passengers should feel like some kind of racers, but maybe that's the idea. I may be wrong though. In general, summarizing all above shown, Urus is certainly not an option for investments, but if you have free funds, you want to move actively, to stand out well, and accordingly, to pay little stio, then here, yes, Urus. If you in general want to do all the same, then buy a similar car under the Audi nameplate in some bright color. By the way, I've seen an Audi in this color, exactly like the interior. Accordingly, if you want to cut down, buy an Audi. But this topic is quite debatable, so we will not go into it because time is running out. I wanted to wish everyone a good viewing. Write in the comments, how did you like the Urus? Did you like it or did not like it? I'm off to work, but there will be some more interesting stuff in the near future. Goodbye everyone. Have a good shopping.